Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Off-Season 365 podcast sponsored by Dynasty Athletic Performance and powered by NC Football Connections. Today, we have a special guest. We have Coach Nate Harris, running back coach at Elon University. Coach Harris, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Can't complain. Can't complain. Middle of the week, so got over a hump day, so it's downhill from here. So
Well, I appreciate you for hopping on. You and your staff, you guys have been all across the country, all across North Carolina, recruiting, having meetings. So for you to make time to hop on for a few minutes, man, I truly appreciate it.
yeah, it's a pleasure, and I'm saying you the big homie, so I can make time, if it's needed. So
Appreciate your support, man. So before we begin, give our listeners a quick snapshot of your journey into coaching.
yeah, so uh, years ago, I ended up finishing my playing career at Western Carolina. Ended up getting a degree, master's wise, and at Elon, and had no intentions of coaching. Once I was done playing football, I was done. Washed my hands. I was going to be a
What?
fan on the weekends and call it a day. Got into insurance and realized that's not what I wanted to do with my life. I was coaching Pop Warner on the side and having a lot of fun with middle school aged kids who played football down there in Florida, and talked to some trusted individuals, mentors, and kind of just try to gauge their thought process as far as me taking that leap to get into coaching, and prayed about it quite a bit, and took a leap of faith, and then started my coaching career. Started in high school. That's where me and you actually linked up as far as the teaching aspect, and had an opportunity to go back to my alma mater, Middle Creek. At that time, literally was about a day or two after Randy Ragland, who was my offensive coordinator my senior year. He had just got the head coaching gig there, and I have an affinity for Middle Creek, and asked him, told him my situation, that I wanted to get into coaching, and he welcomed me with open arms. So went to Middle Creek and taught there, coached there for 3 years on the defensive side of the ball. Had quite a bit of success throughout that run, and I knew that wasn't the end all be all. I wanted to try my chances in college. So I reached out to, at one point, while I was at Middle Creek, every school that I could get access to their email line, every school. I'm interested, love to join their staff, yada, yada, yada. Some people responded more times than not, didn't get any responses. Some people said no. Some people said, we'll wait to see. Um, and then the opportunity opened up with Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina, um, at Division III. So I was like, it's college. Like, I don't care what level. I just want to get my foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Had an opportunity to go there and coach running backs, and learned quite a bit, and had an opportunity to coach an amazing running back to start my career. It was All-American. It was kind of ready-made. And we were able to parlay that to West Alabama, University of West Alabama, about an hour south of Tuscaloosa, which is a D2. So in my eyes, I'm climbing high school D3. In my eyes, even though it was far away from home, um, I couldn't, and it wasn't a lot of money, but it was more money than I was making. Just wanted to jump on the opportunity. Went down there for a few years. It so happened a couple months after we got down there, COVID, there was a big outbreak. They were shutting
Yes.
down. So it was kind of like terrible time. Like, I just moved to a state I've never been to. At that point, 2020, me and my wife just got married a couple months prior, and so that was kind of tough. But anyway, we got through that, and then Elon opened up, and it was an amazing opportunity. At that point, we had one child was pregnant with the second one, and there was an opportunity to get back close to home. It was another step up. You talking about career wise, obviously some more money involved, and we got here, and it's been a fun ride. So I'm going on my fourth season this upcoming year at Elon. It's my alma mater. Um, there's a lot to like about Elon. I'm thankful to be there.
Absolutely, man. And I had a chance to follow your journey, and I always commended you for your attention to details. You were willing to serve time on the Division III level. You spent time on the opposite side of the ball. You went down south to you went down south. Contributed there, and then as soon as you made it back home, man, I was like, hey, man, let's throw this man a big party, man. So welcome back home. We appreciate you here, man, and all your contributions to high school football, man. So since we're talking about running backs, all right, let's get to it. So question for you, within position groups, like I know there's a such thing as competition, right? Especially on your level, competition for playing time. So how do you align all players within a position group on a common set goal?
Yeah, I think early on you kind of have to establish the goals of the group and establish a baseline when it comes to uh, whatever we want to accomplish. We can't accomplish it by ourselves, and that anything that's worthwhile is going to take some time, some effort, some ups and some downs. And you hear the story or the kind of the phrase outside of sports that, if you're going to go somewhere in life, don't go alone. So it's a deal where even though we're competing, let's go on this journey together. Let's help each other out. I think the big deal is, some people in some respects, I'm guilty of this. You want to hide from conflict. You want to hide from maybe something that's not super comfortable.
Right.
When you're competitive, sometimes there's some adversity, there's some uncomfortable moments, but we don't hide from that. We kind of establish what we want to accomplish from day one. And day one is, we hear some of the same common things every time it's a new part of the year. So whether that's the first day of fall camp, whether that's the first day of summer workouts, whether that's the first day postseason, whether that's the first day of spring ball, you're hearing a lot of the common goals and aspirations of the group. So we set that standard, and we go after. We don't hide from competition. I want my guys competitive. That's actually a pillar of ours, is being competitive. So we don't hide from that. We actually we encourage it.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you 200%. I mean, for example, and again, this is high school, right? Every Monday, we have a chance to talk as a position group. We get a chance to hang out before everyone else comes, and it sounds to me like you are very similar to that. You like to spend time with the position group, get to know each other, but it's all about setting those goals, and you as the position coach holding them to that standard so that they can achieve that goal. So kudos to you for that, man. So my next question is, what are some ways to encourage positive communication within your running back room?
Yeah. I try to, when it comes to positive communication, I try to be a leader and set the example. So, that comes to a coaching tactic, really. One thing I've learned throughout my coaching career, there's still stuff to learn, because everybody can't be coached the same, and you can't always be a hoorah guy and yelling at folk. One thing, I've learned and continue to learn is to coach with grace. And sometimes that could, sometimes throughout the season, which is long, there can be some fire and brimstone involved with the conversation. And sometimes it's one of those, hey, it's not fourth quarter, fourth down right now, right? Let's fix it. There's a reason we practice. And I don't hide from and I try to find a balance with using the term like, you're human. We're human, so mistakes are going to happen. Some people use it as a crutch and be like, "Well, coach, I'm human." Not let's not get carried away with it. But mistakes are going to happen, and it's my job to try to correct those. And when it comes to players with each other, there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes there has to be uncomfortable conversation. Sometimes the tones won't be great, but I always encourage my guys to listen to the message, not the tone, with each other and myself. But as long as and that's why you want to establish a brotherhood. That's something I push for, because the positive communication really comes from the message more so than tone. It's like, as long as hey, my coach cares about me, my brother cares about me, even though I don't want to hear it right now. I understand it's not anything malicious. It's something that's going to get me better. I'm just maybe this moment I'm just kind of in a ill mood. So.
Yeah, and it's really about being intentional with your communication, and you did a good, you clearly explained the importance of knowing the player. Some players, they respond to the fire. There's some players that you might need to pull to the side and have a conversation with them,
Right.
to fix it, So you as the coach, you have to figure out what makes that player tick and go on from there,
Right.
Having tough conversations, I mean, it's a part of the job, but it's all out of love, man. It's
Right.
all out of love.
Right.
So how do you create healthy competition to push players to improve without creating division?
Yeah, I think it's just it comes down to the baseline of establishing a brotherhood, and that's something that
Mm,
I in some respects bend over backwards to make sure I establish. I when we is it everything from when we get into a meeting, having some open dialogue and leaving the room for comic relief. Sometimes people want to get in and be straight to the point, right? Well,
mm.
we'll leave room for comic relief so we can be comfortable and be able to have some open and clear communication, and then you know going above and beyond. Whether that's when we leave the exit meeting room or leave the meeting room, telling each guy, and this it might sound weird to some people, but I got to a point probably about a year ago where I dap every guy up and tell them I love
Yeah.
them. Just to let them know, like, hey, it's bigger than football. We're all on the same page. Every Thursday, and I started this back when I was coaching in high school. We every Thursday during the season we'll have a yoga session or a stretching session.
Nice.
Is to build camaraderie, and it's like
Hmm.
we're trying to improve ourselves, and we're not in a necessarily a football setting. After we do that, we go eat. I'm a big believer in everybody, regardless of race, regardless of age. Everybody can have a good conversation around some free food
No, that's right.
or food in general. So we'll go break bread and talk about non-football things. But it's just establishing that so it's we understand and remember that it's bigger than football. We understand, remember, hey, we're on the same page. We understand and remember that, hey, we're brothers. We've been through the fire. Sometimes I have tactics where I'll get after the whole group, and I think it's human nature to want to be liked, but this just like I know this, and like any good coach knows that sometimes to be in a leadership position, you're not going to please everybody. And you won't be liked by everybody or every day. And I tell guys that, like, there's gonna be some days you're gonna be mad at me. There's gonna be some days that you ain't gonna have nothing to do with me, want to cuss me out, this and the third. As long as we remember we're family, that's how families operate. We're not always gonna be on the same page. I love you, but today I don't like you right now. And I might get to a point where, I might get after the whole group. One thing I've kind of grown to, and it kind of sounds backward, is if I can get after the whole group and the whole group can get ticked off at me, then in some weird way I'm building a unity uh,
Yeah, nice.
a unity opportunity. They might be all against me, and that sounds kind of twisted and backwards, but it's the bigger picture is you guys are coming together. The bigger picture is you guys are going through adversity and agreeing together. There is power in agreement. So that's why day one we talk about setting standards and goals. We want to come to agreement. We want to be aligned. You hear that word alignment all the time. Agreement is power in agreement. So we do that, and then one last thing I do that might be random. On game day, we'll go there and we'll have our little huddle out there and the hoorah, and everybody's pumped up. But every game day, and I started this, I think when I did my first college stop. When we go back in the locker room for the last time, I always grab my guys and pull them to the side, and we huddle, and it's quiet for the first couple of seconds, and then from there it's a guided breathing exercise. This is what I always
Mm.
think, that the quiet before the storm. So you just
Nice.
hyped up. Now let's quiet up. Let's quiet our thoughts. Right. Let's stay in the moment there. So it's a breathing exercise. Let's breathe in, breathe out, and then I give them words of affirmation, and then
Mm.
a brief prayer. And again, all this is building that brotherhood of, like, I'm next to my brother. I'm about to go to war with my brother. Like, we've been through adversity. We've been through ups. We've been through downs. We know each other's parents. We know, we have shared hobbies and experiences and thoughts and feelings. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to go to war with somebody next to me that I care about. I know cares about me. There's a lot of that. And that's pretty wordy, but going above and beyond to try to establish a brotherhood, to have a healthy competition, to have a healthy environment going toward a common goal is what is big for me. So
It sounds like a plan. And to me, man, that sounds to me like you leaning on that teaching background, man. That's what that is. All that
yeah,
CTE teaching, man,
yeah,
being
man.
up there, them working in class, and them, what I'm saying. That's what
Yeah,
that stuff's about. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's something that I try to do with my students. Instead of going ahead and hopping right to it, I always ask them, "Hey, how are you doing?" Matter of
Mhm.
fact, as they're walking into the class, "How you doing? What's going on? What do
Mhm.
I need to know or not know about?" Right?
Mhm.
To go ahead and break the ice, and we can go ahead and dive into the lesson, man. Because like you said, it's all about community. It's all
Yep.
about building that trust. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure, man. So question, leadership. Okay. You sound to me like you instill a lot of leadership into your players. How important is it for senior players to help set the tone and provide mentorship to your younger players?
Man, it's huge. I had I, this past season was one of the better experiences for me of having the leader, having that example, a senior guy who's been there, done that. Because these young guys are so vulnerable. It's no different than kids. It's no different than siblings seeing their older sibling do something, say something, respond a certain way, and just whether intentional or unintentional, it just becoming a part of your thought process, part of how you operate. So having seniors and older veteran leadership is so important because the young guys are very impressionable, especially the freshmen, some of the sophomores. These people look up to whether, and sometimes whether we're going through good or bad. Sometimes I have to pull seniors and be like, whether it's tough to be a leader because you got to be on point more times than not. People are looking at you all the time.
All the time.
You have people who are natural leaders. It's cool because now it kind of helps takes a load off of you in terms of holding people accountable, in terms of setting the tone, in terms of being an extra voice. There's certain things, my leadership last year where I would say not that it fell on deaf ears, but sometimes hearing the same thing from somebody else can click. Again, it's similar to having siblings. Mom and dad might tell you something, and then it's just something about my brother saying that same thing. It's like, oh, you get me because you're close to my age. You get me because we're kind of in that same area of life. Um, so no, I mean it's ultra important because the alternative is having bad leadership and spoiling the whole room.
Oh
Uh,
man.
now there's bad work habits. Now there's bad attitude. Now they're talking back. Now there's not.
Mm.
Now they're not great leaders, so they're just going off of what they were, what they learned throughout the years. So it's ultra important. It's ultra important to have. Some people are natural. I do believe it's a God-given thing to be a leader. I think some people can be trained to have leadership qualities, but those natural leaders. Some people's like you're just born a leader. So that's ultra important for the culture room. That's ultra important for the development of the young guys because that person or persons can act as a second coaching voice in some sorts.
Nicely stated. And since we are talking about conflicts and overcoming adversity as well, what actions do you take to address conflicts early so that it doesn't lead to locker room issues or room issues?
Yeah. Early on, I try to get ahead of it early on, and
Hmm.
when we're starting different sessions of the calendar year, anything that might see as a potential pitfall, I might just be out front. Don't let this happen or that happen, and then this leads to X, Y, and Z. So I try to get ahead of it. The reality of the matter is, you're not going to be able to get ahead of everything. There's always going to be
Yeah.
something that comes that's unexpected. So one avenue is to pull that person aside and try to correct it before it starts to seep into everybody else. And then sometimes, again, we don't have an adversity in our room. And part of having a great relationship is, and being a family is we can talk about things. So if there's some things that it's an elephant in the room or some things that we know could be going south really fast, sometimes we will flat out have a conversation. Now, as you know, our time can at times can be limited in the meeting room and the film room,
Hmm.
but it's important to me to make sure there's not a bad seat in the room. So if there needs to be a difficult conversations, we will have a difficult conversation with the whole group. I'll
Mm.
address not necessarily one person, but I'll address everybody. And
Mm.
sometimes, and I kind of do it comically. I might not know where maybe the bad vibes are coming from. So I'll address and I'll look up to the sky and tell them I don't know who I'm talking to. So nobody thinks I'm attacking them. Whoever this may
I
apply,
like that.
So people are like, "Oh, and I tell them like it's an open door conversation. Let's not, part of my job, or my main job, is to make you a better man and a better player. Part of becoming a man is having a difficult conversation. So if you feel some type of way about me address that, and or there's just something going on, let's have a conversation. Before, after, let's have a conversation. I'm open to it. One thing that I've grown to do is separate the player from the person. Sometimes in our profession, you blur the lines, and they're all one person. Sometimes there's kids, and you notice in high school and college, and in some respects, it might even get to younger people, whereas sometimes people are just going through things in life that's just tough. Like as an adult, just like there's no one where you should be going through that. So that might lead into problems and or attitudes and or conversations. So, I'm big on open communication, and I'll try, and to get back to answer your question, it could be a private conversation. It could be trying to get ahead of it on the front end. It could be, hey, we can go ahead and knock this out now, so this doesn't linger any further and become even worse.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like you said, man, you're not going to be able to get in front of everything, but the goal is to get ahead of as much as possible. I mean, for example, I'll be standing at the door and kids are just slapping each other's neck and pushing each other, and yeah, they're playing, but like I know, man, all it takes is one wrong move, and next thing you know, we have a brawl in the hallway. So so it's about getting ahead of that thing as soon as possible, man, so that thing don't escalate, man. Even if you are tight like that,
Right.
So question, how do you help your players keep individual success from overshadowing teams' collective goal? I mean, for example, in college, again, you guys, it's a business, and you guys have to deal with a lot. Players have goals. Players want to break 1,000 yards. They want to catch for 1,000 yards, right? They want to get an NIL deal, right? How do you balance that? How do you help balance that individual success with the overall team goal?
Yeah. You want to, just consistently reminding them that nobody's bigger than a team, and that those individual goals will come along with team success. Because what is it worth to have all the success and be on a terrible team? So remembering, it's about the team, and my guys are, it's a domino effect, and I often say, hey, protect the room. So think about the room when you're making decisions. Think about the room when you have success. So it's part that it's part of just humility, whether that's showing it or whether that's continue to preach it. When people do have success, telling them, hey, especially in my room, go thank your O lineman. Make sure you shout your O lineman out. Hey, if you have the financial means, maybe you should treat them to some burgers or some donuts. The flip side is when things aren't going well, being able to shoulder or have accountability, essentially. And that that'll always keep you level as far as, you have success, but you won't always have success. That's not how life works. So when things going bad, right, just remembering, where you've been and where it could go. And, I'm big on comic relief. So sometimes people might have success, and let's say, you had a 200-yard rushing game, and then the next practice, maybe you ain't practicing well. Like, I might call you out for everybody in a comic manner. My bad, you've arrived. Yeah, one good game. You got all conference player of the week. You arrived. And it's kind of embarrassing. Like, coach, it's nothing like that. But it's one of those. I'm putting you on blast, and not a malicious way, but to grab your attention and let you know that you probably don't see it, but you're now on the same track. So let's make sure we stay humble. Let's make sure that we stay even keel. It's something that my dad instilled in me when I first started playing sports. Never too high, never too low. So stay even keel. You'll have success, but the reality matter in football, it's a long season. In a game, it's a long game. Life is a journey, and there'll be some ups, there'll be some downs. But as long as you can stay right there in the middle, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, man. Never too high, never too low. And to add on what you just said, something that I like to advise players to do, right? Especially whenever the microphones and the cameras are in their face. I'm like, hey, share the credit.
Mm-hmm.
Share the credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you share the credit, that's going to keep the pressure down, and that's something that, Coach Holtz will always explain to us in college. Was like, hey, praise your teammates, praise your coaches, right? And that right there alone, man, will keep a lot of that anxiety down, man. So, so I definitely, and that's what makes football so great, man. It's the ultimate team sport.
Ultimate team sport.
Ultimate team sport, man. I love track and field, man, but that's more individualized. But football, man, You need all 11 guys to play at the same
Oh yeah.
level for any success to happen.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
that's just how it goes.
Oh yeah.
You know, so as coaches, so as a coach, or as coaches, how do we help encourage players to support each other rather than just you know, challenging them for their starting job? Okay, so a better way to ask that is how can coaches help encourage players to support each other even when they are chasing the same goal, which is the starting position?
Yeah. Um, That's good. I think part of that is what we talked about earlier, as far as establishing a solid culture, a culture of brotherhood. I think part of that is remembering is bigger than you. So whether you have the opportunity or not, the ultimate goal, if you're a true team player, is about winning and have success. So sometimes that includes you, sometimes that doesn't. I think that's just emphasizing that there's limited spots. There's only one football on the field at one time, and certain positions have limited spots for us. Not since I've been here, this upcoming year might be a little bit different, but there's going to be one run back on the football field. So that's just how it goes, and that's but continue to encourage, be ready when your time's called. And I always tell them the worst thing you can be in life is not prepared, not ready. The worst thing you can be in life: football, sports, job opportunity, significant other, life itself. When we get to the end of time, is not ready. So just continue to encourage that, and it's tough. Everybody, we're males and we got egos and we want to be the guy. I think that in itself does teach humility. Everybody can't be the guy, and if you feel like you should be the guy, you're not. All things considered, there's probably something that you're lacking that you need to reflect on. Because especially on our level, we're putting people out there who we think can help us win. So if you're not on the football field right now, we think somebody else can help us out a tad bit better. So you need to have a self-reflection time and realize, is that something God given that I can't control, or is that something that I can control and I need to address? So sometimes it's both. If it's God given, it's God given, and just be patient, wait for your time. And then there's something as far as working hard and or finishing, and or giving better effort. That's something you can control, and you need to be real with yourself and put it on display so you can gain the trust of the coaches.
Because what your tape is your resume.
That's it. That's it.
You are who you are on tape, and that's just how the game goes.
That's what we're going on. Yeah.
And when you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, man.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, how do you keep players focused on their development? Since we're talking about development, how do you keep players focused on the development rather than just the outcome, like being the starter? So, how do you motivate that younger player, right? Because you know how the saying goes. As a freshman, you just want to play. As a sophomore, you want to start. As a junior, you want to go all conference. But as a senior, you just want to win. So how do you motivate those young players to embrace development as opposed to just chasing a starting job?
Yeah, for us, we talk about building a complete back, and we talk about being elite in different areas, whether that's vision, whether that's footwork, whether that's pad level, whether that's catching, whether that's blocking. So it's one of those deals where if you were elite at every spot, you probably wouldn't be here on our level, right? And then you get to the higher levels too. Most schools can make the argument. If you're at Ohio State, there's a good chance you might be an elite at everything. But even then, if you're elite, then you should be a bona fide first round pick. If not, then there's some stuff to work on. So just keeping that in mind, we talk about that when they first come to the doors. Our job is to build them to be an elite player. So continue to work on that. And then I often use the phrase, and I got it from Coach K. I grew up rooting for UNC. So this is kind of anti Tar Heels, especially after last weekend. But Coach K had a saying, and I don't know if it originated from him, but you've never arrived, you're always becoming. There's always work to do, right? You're never at the mountaintop. When you think you are, there's still more to climb. So when it comes to that development, if you feel like you have arrived, there's still more work to do. And just continue to push that. And it's kind of like when we talked about recently when you do have some success, having that comedic jab, to let them know, like, hey, I acknowledge, and it's becoming obvious that you got comfortable, you got complacent. We say complacency is the enemy of greatness, right? So continue to keep your head down, continue to work, and just realizing that there's always more work to be done, right? You want to be elite, right? There's always more work to be done. So just not getting complacent and trying to reach the mountaintop. And for us, we're in a different ball game with NIL and the transfer portal. So it might be one of those deals as an FCS guy. Hey, you think you're elite? Well, you're still here. You were elite. Somebody's coming to get you. And right, you can say for everybody, once you get to the highest level, is one of those where you should have a first round grade. And then, it can go on and on. Your first round where you should be a top 3 pick. Right? Your top pick, then, right? You should be a day 1 starter. Your day 1 starter, well, you should be in the running for MVP. Your MVP, you should be in the running for Hall of Fame. So again, you never arrive, you're always becoming. There's always a mountain to climb. So development never stops, work never stops. Just continue to emphasize that daily, continue to work, having the right mindset daily. Yeah, you're right. Like young guys, they just want to play and just remembering that there's a bigger picture involved. So when our guys come in, and even the guys who are here, we have plans of action. So every year we want to accomplish this. Well, did we get these accomplished? Okay, well, let's try to get ahead of the curve. By your sophomore year, you should be able to do X, Y, and Z. Right? You should be able to see X, Y, and Z in your game. Right? Mentally, you should be where it's X, Y, and Z. Okay, so we'll continue to daggone master that, not just get it, master. I'm also saying it's kind of like with reps. You get it right. You got it down pat when you can't get it wrong. And I think that's what we're statement too. Some people say, hey, coach, I got it right once or twice, I'm good to go. You can't, you got it down pat when you can't get it wrong. It's a surprise when you do get it wrong. So until you get to that point, whether it's a skill set, whether that's film study, whether that's making a move on the football field, until you get to that point where you can't mess up, there's always more to grow. So.
Always more to grow, man. And something else that you and I talked about, when you came to visit us, was the importance, for example, of the running back position. And I was like, hey, man, did you know that we ask our backs to do a lot of stuff, man? They got to get the formation. They got to pass protect. They have to be able to line up in the slot. They have to line up outside. They have to be able to stay in to protect, right? Because like you said, man, a lot of these young, talented players, they fail to realize that there's a bigger picture. And if you are advocating for playing time, you have to make it to the point where we can't take you off the field. Right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. So before we let you go, there's a question that I love asking my coaches. What piece of advice would you give a coach looking to build meaningful relationships with their players?
What piece of advice would I? Yeah, being yourself. That's one of the best pieces of advice I got. Being yourself, realizing the player and the person aren't necessarily the same. Going out of your way to make sure you have a relationship and asking about family, like realizing what's important to them. Like when it's recruited, one of the things we want to hit is, what's important to them and who's the decision maker. These are important factors to be able to potentially get them on board. So now once they're on board, it's one of those what's important to them and maybe tap it in with that important figure in their life. But it's cliche and this phrase has been thrown around for forever, but they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. So going above and beyond that, and my people might hear this might be extreme as far as the yoga and the breaking the bread and the quiet time right before football field. You have to do all that, but there's got to be something that you tap into that they realize, hey, it's more than football that you care. Excuse me. I think just being transparent. When things aren't going great, maybe you made a bad call, maybe there was a mistake, there was an error on your end, and just being transparent and taking accountability and ownership in front of them. I think kids appreciate that and recognize that, and that helps out the relationship building. I think, on those lines of being transparent, allowing them to see you be vulnerable, and allowing them to see you be vulnerable, and also just seeing another side of you. So like for me, like every Thursday, as you get later on the week, things start to become a little bit less and less. My family will come and watch practice. So now, again, building that relationship, you see, oh, Coach Harris, it's not just Coach Harris. Like, oh, there's Nate Harris, the husband. there's Nate Harris, the father. Like, oh, he's not just a jerk of football. Like, he actually has actual feelings, and there's another part of him. You know, so when we're in the meeting room and things didn't go well, there's like, oh, there's coaches taking ownership. I can get with that. Hey, coach asked how my mom was doing. That's cool. Coach, something happened and I ended up at the hospital, or a friend ended up at the hospital. He asked about it. He came to see me. Like, they're like that. That's cool. So just going above and beyond, man. I firmly believe that it's got to be. I mean, you have to care for the person. Part of the reason I got into coaching is because I wanted to make a positive influence on the younger generation. But the other part is like I remember being in college, and I'm not trying to say it's a malicious or a shady way, but I felt like I went to college and left college, and there was coaches that only talked to me for football reasons. So it's almost like you got used, and not as my position coach, because he was amazing. Shout out to Arquita Banks. That's one of my mentors. He was actually really good, but I just felt like they didn't care about me once football was done. They washed their hands of me.
Yeah.
And that's that. And these are influential figures.
Yeah.
High school, middle school, college. These are influential. You see them every day. You hear to them every day. You adhere to their rules every day. Mm-hmm. And I want to have meaningful relationships. That's why I started coaching in 2015, and here I'm at Elon 4 stops later. There's still people from 2015 who graduated that I'll text occasionally, because it's bigger than football. If you're in my phone, that means we have a relationship. I'm not going to throw you to the wayside. We're not going to talk all the time, but I'm going to check on you. I'm going to make sure you're breathing. I'm going to, you end up getting married, you have a kid. Like, I would like to be invited to the wedding potentially, or send a gift. Like, we need more positive influences in the world. In a world, a crazy world, the world's getting crazier and crazier, and people, you saying things that people are trying to make seem right, but we just, like, at your core, it's not right. We need more positive influences. And I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to do my one part to help be a positive influence and develop a great relationship with these guys. And by going through all those avenues, they can tell I care, and that's something I could depend on to help me out in life.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, man. It's all about building meaningful relationships, and it's all about keeping in contact with them even once they're finished, man. For example, I was talking to a former player on my way home, and I was just checking in. Hey, man, what you got going on? And he just gave me a laundry list of stuff that was going on. I'm like, whoa, okay, right. But I mean, he can't do anything for me at this point in his career, like playing wise, but it's always great to hear from your former players. It's always great to hear from your former coaches. And, that's why we do what we do, man. That's why we do what we do, man. So appreciate you for sharing that intel as well, man. Those nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I'm thankful to do something I love. And part of that is being able to help out others. I think that's what it's about. It ain't about you. That's the beautiful thing about football. You kind of heard that in my soliloquy. Like, it's bigger than you. So
much bigger. Yeah. Much bigger. Well, thank you for listening to the Offseason 365 podcast. If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and tell others about it. I'm Coach Simmons with Coach Harris. We're signing off.